Good morning, everyone. My name is Carolyn Hart Bennett, and I have written 2 books, 3 screenplays, 13 teleplays, and 1 stage musical, all based on a story I wrote 20 years ago entitled 7 Sisters. The story begins at the London docks as 800 immigrants board the Amazon sailing ship to cross the Atlantic Ocean to New York City in 1863. It is based on true events as recorded in diaries and journals from this and other immigrant voyages. In today's video, I want to tell you about these 800 passengers. All of them are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Never heard of it? Well, you've probably heard of our nickname, which was given to us by the persecutors of our church in the early days of our existence. They called us the Mormons, or the Mormon Church. Now, before you turn off this video because you think Mormons are a cult, practice polygamy, and are kind of peculiar, I'll have to agree that I am kind of peculiar, but please realize that my husband only has one wife, and our church doesn't practice polygamy anymore. That was stopped around the year 1900. But there are several groups that have broken off from our church so they can practice polygamy. But as I said, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints no longer does. As for being a cult, our church is one of the fastest growing religions in America. We have grown from 6 members in 1830 to over 16 million members today. We are a worldwide church with congregations in 160 countries. We have over 70,000 young missionaries preaching the gospel around the world and have an enviable welfare program for our members and a humanitarian outreach program that has given over $1 billion of aid and helped in over 100 disaster projects around the world just last year, regardless of whether the people affected by these disasters belong to our church or not. Now, back to our nickname. Where did we get it? Well, the founder of our church was Joseph Smith, and early in the church's history, he translated some metal plates with Egyptian engravings on them, which were eventually printed into a book entitled The Book of Mormon. I guess the persecutors of the church thought the Book of Mormon told all about the tenets of our faith. But in reality, an ancient prophet named Mormon abridged the records of the ancient inhabitants of the Americas, recording the visit of Jesus Christ to them after his resurrection as another witness of Jesus Christ's divinity. Therefore, the book that came forth was called the Book of Mormon, or in other words, the prophet Mormon compiled the book and Joseph Smith translated it. So our official name is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Yes, we believe in Jesus Christ, and we follow his teachings to love the Lord with all our might, mind, and strength, and to love our neighbors as ourselves. Why am I telling you all this? Well, as I mentioned earlier, I recently turned my story into a script for a new stage play musical and composed 25 songs for it as well. It's called 7 Sisters, The Voyage. You may say, there's already a Mormon musical, the Book of Mormon musical. But as much as people think this is the funniest musical they've ever seen, and it got a Tony to prove it, it is also a gross and profane distortion of our religion. Think for a minute how long a musical mocking the Jewish faith or the Muslim faith would last on Broadway before it was run out of town. I didn't mean to get preachy here, but I think you can appreciate our religion and the history of it. After all, millions of people enjoyed Fiddler on the Roof even though they weren't Jewish, or loved The Sound of Music even though they weren't Catholic. These musicals treated their religions with respect and reverence, as does mine. Everyone knows about the early Mormon pioneers who were forced out of several states and finally crossed the plains to the Salt Lake Valley to escape mobs and persecution so they could worship the way they desired. My musical tells about a little-known chapter in our church's history. what happened before the saints crossed the plains. And that chapter tells what happened on the immigrant ships that brought the saints across the Atlantic Ocean. Let me explain a little bit more about that. After the church was founded, Joseph Smith sent missionaries to the British Isles, where they converted people to the church. He then told them that their next step was to earn the money needed for their passageway to America so they could gather to Zion in the Salt Lake Valley and strengthen and build up the church there. These missionary efforts were so successful that the church ended up commissioning ships to bring them across the Atlantic Ocean. Between 1840 and 1890, there were over 300 ships that carried 85,000 saints to America. Our church has compiled a CD with the ship's logs from each of these ships that list the dates they traveled, passengers' names and occupations, the captain's name, the names of the church leaders, and any journals or diaries from that voyage. And that is where I got the stories and many of the characters for my musical, which takes place almost entirely on the Amazon immigration ship and depicts what happened there for 44 days. So my point is that I'm pretty sure you can enjoy a musical based on true events in the history of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Seven Sisters the Voyage is an eye-opening, fascinating, funny, dramatic, dangerous, and joyous musical with music to complement all of these emotions, and I think you're going to love it. Over and